Welcome back to MGSTV. I'm your host Andrew Scott and we're here with Rick Lopes, Chairman of the California Gambling Control Commission. Welcome to MGSTV, Rick.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, sir.
Well, it's the first ever Macau gaming show. What do you think?
I am so impressed. I am so impressed with the show, with Macau in general, the summit going on in accordance with the show. I mean, some of the innovation that I've seen on the show's floor is just incredible, and I applaud everyone who's been involved in putting this thing together.
Chairman Lopes, is this your first trip to Macau? And if so, what are your impressions?
Oh, this is my first trip to Macau, and my impression is I'm impressed. As I began my career as the chairman of the California Gambling Control Commission, it was just 10 short months ago. Everyone that I spoke to in the industry in California said, you've got to go to Macau. In the States, we think of Nevada or Atlantic City, and all the CEOs and the operators at those facilities told me, if you really want to see gaming at its peak, ultimate gaming, you really need to go to Macau. So I am so happy to be here, and I am so impressed what they've been able to build over the last, 10 or 15 years. It is an incredible accomplishment.
Well, during your tenure as chairman, what key changes have you already overseen, or what changes do you intend to oversee to the regulation of the gaming industry in California?
Well, I think really the hot topic in California right now is iGaming, internet gaming, and we're kind of working through that with our legislature. And I see that probably coming online, if you will, no pun intended, probably over the next few years. At least I hope to see it come to California. But in California, the commission takes an advisory role to the legislature and the governor. So that's really their decision to make. But we've been supportive of it, and I think eventually California will have some sort of iGaming.
California has a lot of tribal gaming, which is something we're not particularly used to in this part of the world. Could you briefly explain what exactly tribal gaming is and how it differs from the kind of gaming our viewers might be used to?
Well, California has really two sectors of gaming, the tribal gaming, as you mentioned, and then our card rooms. In California, we have 61 tribal casinos, and they range from very small facilities to very large facilities with thousands of slot machines and table games included. They have a sovereign right to have gambling in the state of California. They're very well organized, very well managed, and very well regulated facilities. They do a phenomenal job. If you were to walk into a tribal casino in California and you didn't think that you were in California, you thought you were in Vegas, you would know no difference. I mean, they're beautiful facilities.
Well, just as New York is an enormous feeder market for the gaming properties in Atlantic City, Los Angeles is also a huge source of customers for casinos in Las Vegas. Just a few days ago, the people of New York voted to legalize casino gaming in their state. Do you think this could ever happen in California? For non-tribal casinos I'm talking about here. Now, could we ever see huge integrated resorts like the Venetian we're sitting in right now, sitting in the heart of LA?
Well, I think gaming in the state of California has really got the two sectors that I mentioned, the card rooms and the tribal casinos. And it's, on the tribal side, it's really their sovereign right to have that type of gaming. In California, the tribal casinos are the only ones that are allowed to have slot machines and certain table games like we're used to, like blackjack and things of that nature, and baccarat. And on the card room side, primarily they can only play poker, yet they do play some of the, we call them California games. But I don't see that ever growing, changing. I think the tribal casinos have kind of that sovereign right, as you will. So I don't see there ever becoming anyone else coming into the state and occupying that space.
When considering the suitability of an applicant for a gaming license in California, how much do you look at that applicant's prior history in other jurisdictions? And is there a formal process of information exchange between regulators in different jurisdictions?
Oh, certainly. I mean, the ultimate test for us, the person has to be a person of good character, honesty, and integrity. We do a very extensive background investigation on all of our owners, our operators, or anyone who has a decision-making job in a casino or a card room. And we work very well with regulators throughout the country and really in foreign jurisdictions. So a background investigation on a potential applicant to take anywhere from weeks, if not months, to years to complete, depending on the complexity of their finances and their background and things like that. In California, you cannot work in the industry if you've had a felony conviction, and you can't work in the industry if you've been arrested of a misdemeanor crime of moral turpitude within the last 10 years. So it is a very difficult hurdle to get into the gaming space in California.
Rightly or wrongly, there is a common perception amongst US regulators and commentators that regulation in the Macau market is quite lax or at least deficient compared to US jurisdictions. What's your view on that?
And another important piece of regulating a market is to ensure, it's a balance. You don't want to have regulations that stifle a market and you can regulate an industry to the point where they can no longer be creative, or they cannot grow, or they can't get a new product to market in a timely manner. I've told people in other speeches that in California, for example, a minor change to our Gambling Regulation Act can take months, if not years, to change. It could take months, if not years, to change a simple definition of a term. So, not that California is overly regulated, but there's always a balance when you're talking about regulation. You want to balance the industry, the government needs, the people's needs, and also to protect the industry, or at least allow them the latitude to bring innovative products to market in a timely manner.
Chairman Lopes, have you spent much time visiting other jurisdictions outside of Macau in Asia, like Singapore, the Philippines, or even some of the small emerging markets?
Unfortunately, I have not. As you know, California is a large state, and we have over 80 card rooms and 61 tribal casinos. So just the state alone, to get around and look at all of those, has been quite a task. I have been fortunate enough to travel to Las Vegas and Atlantic City and even Montreal to kind of get a feel in the States for gaming. But Macau is the first time I've really been out of the country to look at gaming in Asia, and I am so impressed. I would love to go and visit some of the other markets, but now I'm probably spoiled now that I've seen Macau. But I would like to get out and see those markets. I take this as a kind of a personal quest to do the best job I can at my job. And that's the other reason we're trying to get out as California regulators and not only travel the state, the United States, and abroad, just to kind of make us better at doing our job. But again, I'll tell you, I know I'm probably spoiled by visiting Macau first, but this has been a wonderful experience.
Well, if you ever visit Singapore, there's two very nice casinos there, much of Macau standard, so
nice.
Maybe that's the next place for you to go.
I'll do it.
Okay, Chairman Lopes, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time on MGSTV.